folks have a choice. You can either hear two short pieces, one of which is funny and one of which is very sad, or you can hear a 1 10-minute piece that is eventually very sad. So it is up to you. Who votes for option 1, the two short pieces? 1 and 2. Okay. Do you want to hear the funny one first, or do you want to hear the sad one first?
Sad.
Funny. Mostly sad, so let's do that. Okay. When I was 18 years old, I hadn't come out to my dad yet. I had been out to the rest of my family and my friends, and I remember my friend Chelsea, who was here, just kept teasing me every time we hung out. She'd be like, "Have you come out to your dad yet?" And I would say no. And I kept thinking about that because I thought, well, why haven't I come out to my dad yet? I know that he is more traditional than my mom, who did not handle my coming out very well. And he's the same man who once told me and my sisters randomly, out of the blue, one day, that being gay is not natural and that it does not exist in nature. So that kind of held me back from telling him, but I felt like I should. So one day, he was driving me back from lunch, and he parked, he parked. And I had rehearsed it in my head, and I was like, okay, this is it. And I said, of course, the standard, I have something to tell you. And he waited for me to tell him, and surprisingly, the words came out much easier than I thought. I said, I'm gay. And I braced for his reaction because I wasn't sure if it was going to go horribly or if he was just going to be like, eh. So, but I was not prepared for him to ask me, do you have a boyfriend? Which I took as a positive response, that he was curious about me. And I said, no. And he said, I think you know that I have already kind of had a feeling over these years, but you are what you are. And so I went home that day thinking, maybe my dad is actually like super cool with his like gay son, and maybe my mom was the one who was like super traditional and was the one who freaked out about it. A few days later, I'm in my bedroom doing homework, and I hear the phone ring, and my mom answers the phone. She's also watching very, very loudly Chinese soap operas, and I am constantly getting distracted by that. So I get up to turn the volume down, and she gives me the phone, and she says it's her dad. And so he says, I've been thinking for the past few days, and I have some things to say. And he goes on for about 15 minutes about things including being gay is not natural. In nature, there's always male and female animals, so it is not natural. No one in the entire history of Chans has ever been gay, so how can you be gay? And my favorite is gay people cannot have children and cannot have a family, so they go out and they party and they have sex and they get STIs and they die from AIDS. And this phone call is not so much a conversation as much as it is my dad just venting at me. And I am so unprepared and so shocked at his words that I am unable to respond to any of these things that he is saying to me. The only time I do speak up is when he says, you can't have kids being gay. And I said, I can adopt. And he said, adoption is not the Chinese way. And I immediately thought about my Aunt Wendy, who recently adopted 2 kids, but I don't bring that up because I'm better than that. And instead he continues, and the last thing he says before he hangs up is, I am disappointed in your choice. Now the funny story. I first came out to a real human being when I was 14 years old. I knew I was gay even before that. I arguably came out when I was 7, but that is a whole different story. It was the summer between grade 9 and grade 10, and I had made plans to hang out with my friends, Chelsea, Anne, Lily, and Joanne. Chelsea is over there today, still my friend. And so I rehearsed it in my head. I was like, okay, just say it. It's just 2 words. I'm gay. You can say it. I'm gay. Great. Okay, let's do it. I talked myself into it, and when I got to, we planned to hang out at high school for some reason. I don't know. We were just kind of losers back then. And when I got there, only Chelsea and Anne were there. And I said, where are Lily and Joanne? And Chelsea, or Anne, said, they couldn't make it today, but we can still hang out. And in my mind, I thought, okay, maybe 2 people is better. Maybe I was a bit too ambitious with 4 people. So I think I can handle 2. So I said, again, my go-to phrase, I have something to tell you. And they said, okay, what? And I said, and I couldn't finish the sentence. I just couldn't. I was so super aware of the word, and I was aware that what if they told everyone in school, like they did in all of the movies and all of the gay teen novels that I was reading, and I would get beat up and shoved into toilets, and no one would be my friend, and I'd be forced to transfer schools, and oh my god, what am I doing? This is a horrible, horrible idea. And so I was like, I can't say. And my friends were like, you can't do that, you have to tell us. So they proceeded to chase me around the field, but that was obviously in vain because I was a track and field athlete and they couldn't catch me. When we were all tired, we sat down under a maple tree just outside of the school tennis courts. And Chelsea said, so what is it? And I said, again, thinking I physically cannot say the words, it's too hard. So instead, I came up with an idea. And I said, guess. And they kind of looked at each other and they said, okay, do you like someone? And I thought of my mega super ultimate crush on this guy at school. His name is Sean Dwyer. He was the most gorgeous guy I had ever seen. And I said, yes. I thought that it would be so easy for them to guess my secret because they already knew that I had a crush on someone, but I forgot how heterosexist society is. And they began to list names of girls in our grade. Is it Megan Fu? Is it Diane? Is it Rochelle? Is it Julia Stahl? I'd be like, no, 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 no. Ew. And I eventually, I had to say, okay, I have to give you a hint. You're guessing the wrong type of people. And I remember Anne said, do you want us to guess ugly people? And I said, no, just think about it. And so I was so, again, scared out of my mind. And I had a red baseball cap, and I put it over I was lying on the ground. And I put it over my face because I didn't want them to see my reaction when they guessed it right, and I did not want to see theirs. And I heard one of them say, very softly, do you like men? It is so much easier to say yes or no than to say I'm gay. So I easily said yes, and I waited for their horrible reaction. There was a brief moment of silence that followed when I could not tell what was going on because it had on face. Until I think it was Chelsea said oh no, it was Anne who said, that's cool, I've always wanted a gay friend, we can go shopping. And Chelsea said, yeah, it doesn't change anything. I also found out later that during that brief moment of silence, Chelsea was apparently stuffing bread in her mouth to keep from laughing. Not because that it was hilarious, because it was not hilarious, but because she didn't want to come off as rude, laughing in the middle of her friends coming out. And while we were walking back to the bus stop, I felt so relieved that it went well. And they said to me, "So who do you like?" And I said, "Guess." Okay, writing process. What is that? I have not written something new in quite a long time. I have been mostly, these past few months, editing my manuscript for my book coming out and polishing up some older material that I have neglected. When I used to write, the only thing that would motivate me was to give myself deadlines. I used to write down the deadlines for LitMag deadlines, for contest deadlines, and write them in my agenda, and come up with 1 or 2 pieces that I wanted to submit for that piece, for whatever it was. I would try my hardest to either edit or to write it, and if I wasn't able to complete it by the deadline, at least I had something to work with later. I felt like that was one of the only things that got me to actually write. I am not the type of person actually who goes insane if I do not write every day. I'm happy to not write every day actually, which sometimes makes me wonder, am I a writer or am I just a person who occasionally writes, who has stuff published? I do not know. I wish I could talk more about my writing process, but I really don't have anything else to say. Something I'm interested in, besides cats and cat videos and cats and cats and cats. I am interested in homesteading and zero waste. My life changed when I watched this documentary, I think it was playing at the library, called The Clean Bin Project, that was it, where this couple who is from Vancouver decided to try and live I think it was a year, with producing as little waste as they possibly could. And so they document their experiences and how it changes their lifestyle. For example, one of the rules that they placed was cannot buy new things, cannot buy clothes, cannot buy electronics, cannot buy that stuff because it's wasteful. And so I was really inspired by this, and I decided to take it up as well. I mean, even before this, I was really into recycling and things like that. But I was after that, I thought more consciously about everything that I bought and thinking about packaging. I started making my own things like hair gel, which I make by boiling flax seeds and water, which is really great. Oh, you do that too? Okay, great. Oh, okay. It's really great, and then you know what's in it too, so not weird, harsh chemicals that you don't know, you can't pronounce. And I do things, I am very conscious of even little things, like I buy compostable floss, just to, again, keep my waste very low. And I'm very, very passionate about that, to the point where apparently I have influenced people, to do it consciously or subconsciously. I will tell this very quick story and embarrass my friend. We were in Seattle and he was really drunk, blackout drunk. And he was vomiting outside of this restaurant, inside as well, and then we got kicked out and then he vomited outside. And we gave him some napkins and stuff to clean himself up because he was a mess. And then he mumbled something to my friend who was helping him, and my friend said, "What?" And he mumbled it again, and my friend laughed, and I said, "What did he say?" And he was like, "Compost." So he wanted to compost the vomit, which is great. Yeah. I'll end it there because I don't know how to segue into an ending. Questions for me. Where did I get this shirt? I got it at Winter, so you can never find it again. Any other questions? Am I gay? No. Yes. No question. Yes.
My question is regarding like your family reading your work. Do you have to deal with any kind of like repercussions of your family writing about your family at all, or their reactions, or?
I haven't told. I told my mom that I've written about her, but I don't think she's interested in reading it. I wrote a personal essay about winning people back and how it fails, and I juxtapose. My parents were separated, and when I was small and growing up throughout the years, I witnessed my dad trying to win back my mom several times and him failing each time. So I wrote about that, and I juxtaposed it with my own experiences and how I also failed doing that. And I made this horrible mistake one day where I was talking to my dad, and I said, "Hey, I wrote about you in a thing," and he's like, "Yeah, what did you write about?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can send it to you." And he's like, "Okay." So I thought he could like appreciate it. So I sent it to him, and he responded with this long email about how he was basically being very homophobic, even though it wasn't about being gay. And he told me to delete it and to not show anyone. So it's in my book. He doesn't know that. I'm not sure how to approach it, or if I should just leave it. So in terms of repercussions, I would say none at this moment, but could very well be in the future. But that is a risk I am willing to take. You got a question?
Is there, you said like the first real person that you came out to? Is there like a first imaginary person?
I came out before that by email to my aunt when I was 14. And then the very first time I came out when I was 7, and I was just skipping around the schoolyard going, "I'm gay, I'm gay," to no one in particular. So, are you okay? I also have 2 things. I also have copies of my chapbook with me if anyone wants to buy a copy, despite $5. I can sign it and make it really gay for you if you want. I have a purple pen. I also, if you want to stay updated with my book, because I don't even know what's going on with it, I can write down your email address and then you to my newsletter or whatever. You just have to come talk to me afterwards. Thanks to Candy for inviting me to this, and thank you to everyone who came on a Saturday night. That's amazing.
Great.